glad that we're getting back together. We're going to talk about your new project. So, Trio Libre. So I'm looking forward to getting into it. Thank you so much for taking a minute out.
No, thank you for supporting us.
Yeah, you bet. So before we get into the album, I want to ask you this. You know, in America right now, there's a lot of weird things going on between just the stress of immigration and war and all these things. And I'm curious, with you making music, presenting it live and doing it in the studio, how much of giving music to people in the world is a part of your thinking right now in a way that's a little bit different than before?
Hmm. Yeah, it's like I will be. I always been thinking that, of course, music is important for dealing with helping people with cope with situations. But today, I mean, this year, I had an experience that it was really struck me and made me realize how important it is what we do in performing arts. I went to do a workshop and concert at the college in Chicago. And of course, during the piece, I worked with students, and it was really beautiful experience. And then, of course, I always talk and say that I'm so proud to be from Colombia, from being Bogotá, to be living in the United States, and share all this music and this interaction between these cultures, and in a pretty honest way, and describing what we do. And then after the concert, some young kids came to me, and they were really like, thank you, you don't imagine what this means for us, because some of them are high schoolers, they are immigrants, some of their friends have been uh, deported, some of their friends, one of their friends had to leave the country because she was scared. So they live in a situation where they feel really scared. And when they went to a concert and saw like someone, an immigrant, and being talking very openly of being proud of your heritage, I think it was very important. And I then realized how important is at this moment what we do in performing arts. Because when you do performing arts, people are gonna go to a concert, they're gonna sit, they're gonna listen to what you're gonna play, they're gonna listen what you're gonna say between the songs and the context and what it means. So that involves a big responsibility. So I think now it's more evident the importance of what we do.
So let's talk about Trio Libre. It's going to be out on May 1st, pre-order on the 10th of April. Talk to me a little bit about this album. What was the vision and kind of how does it feel in general?
Yeah, look, it was this project has been very, very interesting for me. Like, in my previous projects, I as a composer, you always like bigger ensembles. So I did an orchestra project, did project with horns, then I did a project with the Latin Ensemble and a string quartet. And of course, the possibilities of orchestration began to open more because you have more possibilities. But I really wanted to go the other way. Say, like, you know what? I'm trying always to create bigger ensembles. Actually, I want to go the other way. I first I decided, I thought I wanted to do a trio. Okay, only three musicians. But then it has to make sense. Why three musicians? The tradition of jazz and Latin jazz is being always, so you have a bass, piano, drums, horns, congas, that's been for decades. How I'm going to translate that into a trio that it actually means something. Oh, sorry. That actually means something because, uh, sorry, sorry, I'm in an interview, Chow. Sorry, you can
You're good.
edit that, no?
It's all good.
Yeah, yeah. Uh, well, let me just go. Yeah, I wanted to make a trio. So then I thought, okay, what kind of ensemble? So I said, okay, well, three percussion instruments. I want to have all the elements of these traditions, rich traditions, but without having the instruments present. So what instruments can be percussive instruments. Well, the vibraphone and the piano are perfect. So it that's how everything began. Now I'm gonna make the ensemble. So now I have to write music that makes sense because if I write music that it would sound better with a bigger ensemble, then I will not do what I wanted to do. I wanted to do music that is written for that ensemble, that it doesn't need anything else or nothing. It's that ensemble. Congas, piano, and vibraphone. Limit myself to those sounds, and I began to write the music. And I began to write the music in January 2026. So it was didn't have any kind of intention to put anything political or nothing like that in the project. That was not my idea. But we were beginning to feel everything that began to happen in the country. And as an immigrant, I began to feel vulnerable. My wife began to meet with friends here, with all women. They created a circle of all women talking about the issues because all the rights that they've been working so many years. My wife's mom, she's been like working in health for so many decades, actually helping women and fighting for women's rights in health. So it was so many things. Everybody was just like, "What is happening?" I'm part of an organization that I'm not going to mention, but we had to change all our language. We cannot talk about openly about the diversity of jazz in the United States because you cannot use that word. Things like that. I'm like, this doesn't feel right. So without even trying, all those emotions were present in the album. And the album also represented a place of vulnerability and for me because I'm taking away all the drums and everything is just only the congas. I get to be absolutely exposed. And for the same for the other two musicians. We began to rehearse the project. The music I began to bring drafts and rehearse to see if it worked. If this gonna work, I didn't know. So we began to. Wrote drafts. Then I saw the rehearsals. Okay, so this is gonna work. This is not gonna work. This is gonna work. So that's how I really began to compose the music. So that's Trio Libre. It's about that. It's my way of coping with everything that began to happen in January 26th.
So, how did you pick the players on the album? How do you go into these projects and how do you orchestrate all of the musicians on the album?
Yeah, I worked with Carmen before. I in the piano. It was very important because Carmen is been getting a big name now in the jazz scene. She's extremely incredible player, but also she knows a lot of the Latin music. Like she when she was young, she lived in Cuba. She studied Cuban music in Cuba for many years, but she has not been known for that. She's not been in the Latin jazz world scene at all. But she knows that music. But I really like that because I didn't want that when we go to I don't want to call it cliches or formulas, but elements that are very distinctive of certain tradition. I didn't want to go there just as a habit, as a reflex. Yes, I'm gonna go there. So I wanted a piano player who could understand all the intricacies of the rhythm, all the micro rhythm that happen in music in Afro Caribbean music, but didn't have to go directly to like a piano tumbao or something like that. I didn't want to have those such elements. And then on the vibraphone, I needed someone who could who understood how to play Latin percussion, basically. Because I don't have a timbales, I don't have cowbells. So I put all those rhythms inside the melodies of the piano or and on the vibraphone. So I needed someone who really understood those traditions and also was a great piano, a vibraphone player. And that's Felipe Fournier. He's from Costa Rica and he's very known here in New York playing Latin music. He has played with records with Ruben Blades and keeping that tradition alive. The sounds of Tito Puente, how he used to play the vibraphone in the Latin Ensemble. So there's moments in the piece where the vibraphone takes the role of a timbales. So me as a percussionist, a conga player, I began to hear the timbales and the cowbells and the brass in the way he performs that in the vibraphone. So all those elements began to be present without being present.
So, what are you hoping the listener gets from this album?
That's an interesting question. I as a composer, I will never be able to say, okay, I want you to feel this, because everybody will listen it in their own personal way. And what maybe sometimes for me is very beautiful, for someone will be say, oh, this feels a little too dramatic. I don't like, like I don't know how people react their own feelings and emotions to music, and I don't have control of that. But for sure, it's a project that reveals vulnerability. It's a project that talks about intimacy in the way of sound, and it's a project that raises this uncertainty of things that happen. Like I think it makes us reflect. And one of my real intentions, and this is what I learned through all these first months, is that in these certain times we have each other.
Yeah.
It's the project to make this project, this trio. I was feeling really insecure, because I didn't know if it's going. If, I still don't know if it's going to work or not. I don't know how people are going to react to it. But the band members, Carmen and Felipe, they had my back. We rehearsed. They took their time to get together and rehearse and try what, how we're gonna build this, and they took their time, and I think they have my back. And then at the same time, we were feeling this in the community here in Brooklyn. Everybody, as soon as all this began to happen, everybody began to get together, and there's still the reunions, and people meet. How we gonna do this? How we can help our friends in the community who feel vulnerable? There's been a lot of meetings of the community getting together to just, not let the depression take over you, but really to look forward in a positive way. And it was just, I felt like, wow, everybody's supporting each other in these moments. And I think we have each other. So that's a reminder of I think that's the main reminder of the project.
So, it's available May 1. If anybody wants to get a copy of it, is Bandcamp the best place?
You're gonna get it in Bandcamp. They will also gonna be able to get it in my website,
Okay.
samueltorres.com. They're gonna be able to buy it there, and also in all the streaming services. We have some CDs, but we're gonna have vinyls.
Yes.
And actually, I received the vinyl like 2 days ago, and it sounds incredible. The to listen music in the vinyl, it's another experience. It
I love it.
sounds so beautiful.
Wonderful.
It's not digital. It's actual sound that is recorded.
I love it. So great to catch up with you, Samuel. Thank you, sir. Thank you for taking a minute out for the album. Best of luck on it. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for everything. And, well, I hope this program keeps doing what you do, and people listening and supporting our music.
Yes, sir. We'll shout it.
Neon Jazz.